This week on the grid, we have the man with the plan, Rafael Pons, with the co-creator of the popular photo planning app PhotoPills on the show. We're going to be talking about photo planning and why it's something to focus on to stand out from the crowd. And it all starts right now.
The Grid is brought to you by Tamron. Check out their 28 to 75 millimeter f2.8 lens. It's for Sony full frame mirrorless. It's awesome. Go to tamron-usa.com.
And ProPhoto, the light shaping company. Check out the ProPhoto B1X, powered all the right places. Go to prophoto.com/US.
And PlatyPod, the tripod alternative that is changing the world. Everybody has a PlatyPod. You should too. Go to platypod.com.
Well, hey, Grid Nation, how's it going? We're back here for another week. As you can see, I'm here by myself. Scott is off on another seminar. He's touring the nation with his new seminar tour that's blowing up. He's over at, if you want to check out that seminar tour, it's over here at Kelby One Live. It's the Ultimate Photography Crash Course, and he is in Seattle right now, over here in Seattle, and he's coming to Fort Lauderdale next month. So that's with the Ultimate Photography Crash Course. And then a big announcement with Scott is we actually have, we do the gallery at Kelby One. And one of the things we wanted to do for the holiday, and this is something that Scott was not part of, the office, we decided that we were going to do a Kelby One instructor gallery. So we've decided to feature Scott as the December instructor gallery over at the gallery at Kelby One. So that's gallery.kelby1.com. His gallery will be there on and that's the one we had with Moose Peterson earlier this year, Kelby One instructor. And now we're going to be having one with Scott. It's on December the 6th. So look for that if you're a Kelby One member in your email. If not, just mark your calendar to December 6th. We'll be having a solo gallery with Scott. So getting all the business out of the way, we have giveaways at the end of the show. We're going to have a giveaway of Scott's landscape photography book. And as well, we're going to be giving away the PlatyPod Max, which you'll probably see a commercial on this later. This is a great product if you're looking for a tripod alternative that you won't get stopped and told not to use. It's great for that. But anyways, jumping into the show, while we're here, we've got a special guest joining us today. So we have Rafael Pons from PhotoPills. So PhotoPills, if you guys don't know, is this awesome app for planning your photos. And Rafael, thanks for coming on the show. I'm glad you're here, all the way from Spain, right?
Yes, I'm in Madrid at the moment, and thanks so much for having me, guys. It's amazing to be here with you.
So, starting out, I want to give people the background on PhotoPills if they don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of photographers watching the show that know about PhotoPills. And if you do, and you're in the chat, please, just tell us if you have PhotoPills, what is your favorite thing about it? Just tell me in the chat, what's your favorite thing about PhotoPills? I know for me, it is planning the Milky Way. I'm a Milky Way photographer. I love to plan the Milky Way, and this app has really changed the game for me. It allows me to really get in there, and I think later on the show I can even break it down even further, but it really allows me to get in there and plan out exactly my shoots, even before I get on a plane, because I live in Florida. A lot of times I got to get on a plane and travel to shoot the Milky Way, that this app has become indispensable. So jump in the chat, tell us, if you have PhotoPills, what is your favorite thing about it? But Rafael, if you could kind of give us kind of the 30,000 foot view of the story of how did PhotoPills come to be? How did you guys start this?
Actually, we started working on PhotoPills in 2009, to be honest. Herman, who is the developer, the co-founder of PhotoPills, bought an Nikon D90, and he started to take photos. And one day he came to me and told me, Rafa, this photography thing is so complicated. You need so many answers for so many questions. When is the sun rising? When is the golden hour? What's the depth of field, right? And then I said, that's an interesting topic. Let's do something to help these guys get inspired, have ideas, plan them so they can actually capture them. So that's how we started, 2009, and then we released our first version in 2013 with an only iPhone app.
And now, subsequently, I mean, it's available on Android too, right?
Yes, it took us 4 years to develop the Android version, but hopefully, yeah, I think we have more than 100K downloads on Android, so we're happy with that.
Yeah, so it's available for iOS
iOS
and
and
Android.
Android.
And
Yes.
people also use it. I see people using it with their iPad as well because it's on iOS. So either iPad, iPhone, Android tablet, Android phone. And so I got this app way back when too, and I've seen it kind of grow with your features. Where it was at first, it was kind of like, hey, that's cool. And then I think the thing that really kind of did it for me. Was understanding the augmented reality and what you could do with the augmented reality. So maybe tell us about that feature that you guys have in your app.
Yeah. The augmented reality is a big thing. It allows you to visualize through the phone what's going to happen next. For example, you can visualize where the sun will be setting, or where the sun will be rising, or actually when the Milky Way is going to be right where you want in the sky. So when you are
Yeah.
on location, for example, in front of a nice object, you can just point your phone in the sky and change the time until the Milky Way is right where you want, and then you can choose your shooting spot based on the future position of the Milky Way, which is super helpful to plan, for example, in the field Milky Way shots before sunsets. So you can see what's going on in the foreground, and you can
Yeah.
match what's happening in the
Yeah.
sky with your subject.
And here's like a kind of a visual. Like I have it up in our studio right now, and you can see there's our playback screen. So that's how I'm seeing Rafael over there, and you can see how it's kind of like showing me the stars and circle, and then you can start seeing there's the Milky Way right now. So you can actually see that. Well, kind of right next to Christina over here, the Milky Way would be over on the set over here. So that's right now, and then I can scrub through time and kind of see how it travels through the sky. So it's really cool how I can line up shots, how I want it. So if I wanted the tail of the Milky Way at 7 o'clock tonight, it's going to kind of run right through that screen right there. So it's really cool how you can dial in the exact thing. So there you go.
Yeah.
And we'll get into a little bit more of it, but I just wanted to show you guys what he's talking about there.
Yes. I mean, the AR thing is a really game changer because it makes planning much easier. And actually, the Milky Way augmented reality view is, I think, it was one of the most used features of PhotoPills.
It is absolutely my number one thing. I mean, obviously, I do a lot of planning before I go out, and I do that without the augmented reality. But once I get out on location, oh my gosh, the augmented reality allows me to really dial that in. And really why I wanted to have Rafael to talk about this topic is this is kind of an emerging topic in photography. We've always done planning throughout the history of photography, but never have we had so much power in our pockets to really differentiate our shots from the field. Like and so, maybe Rafael, you can tell me, how are people using this app to kind of like differentiate itself? Because you see it all. You're the guys who wrote this, so you see people using your hashtag, sending stuff to you. How are they using this to really push? Like, what are the different things they're using the app for?
Yes, actually, if you go to our Instagram PhotoPills, or you have PhotoPills, you can go to My Stuff and Awards, and then you'll see photos that we feature from PhotoPillers all around the world that they are sharing the photos with us. And we're trying to, people is using the app to plan Milky Way shots, sunsets, sunrises, really long distance shots with the moon. That's super popular at the moment also. For example, you want to shoot the moon with the Statue of Liberty in New York, you can plan that shot and you can actually capture it.
And like here's their Instagram here. You can see on my screen, and you can see how what Raphael's talking about. You start getting into where you can see the moon, but then you can start planning like the moon rising out of places and kind of like framing that in your shot. Like the other week when we had Mercury, there's Mercury rising, transiting the moon while there's a tree and somebody in front of it. That was actually a shot that I shared last week that I was going after, where I was trying to get a rocket transiting the sun. That's where I was using PhotoPills. I was lining that up, trying to figure that out. Now, if you watched the show last week, you saw that there's a fun, very lively park ranger that ruined that shot for me. It's a very nice lady, extremely nice, and I'm being 120% sarcastic here because she did not like her job or not like us at all. But yeah, you can see here over on Instagram. I mean, you can see like here where you got like the moon, and the moon's rising at certain spots, so you kind of like figure it out. Or here's like exactly, you can plan out that bridge shot in advance. And I think that's what's so cool about the app is you can really get in there and plan out some of these shots in advance. Like I was meeting with a buddy of ours that was up in Chicago, and he was talking about, I'd love to get a shot of the moon in between the two towers of the Hancock building. And I'm like, well, I got an app for you that'll do that for you. And I showed him how you can use the find tool in PhotoPills and actually find, given a location, find when that moon is going to be full at that point, when it's going to be a crescent moon at that point, or if it's even going to happen, because there's some times in life that the moon's just not going to be in that location, right?
Yeah, and it's better to know that that shot is impossible. Yeah, everything starts with the idea. What I love about PhotoPills or planning in general is that it gives you the power to really imagine a shot, visualize it, and then plan it. So you can find the right shooting spot and the right shooting date and time. That photo that you want to take actually happens, so you can go and capture it. And it's pretty addictive. When you start, you know all our locations, you start brainstorming when you're out there. What about the Milky Way over there? What about the sunset over there? What about, the moon setting a line with your subject? And it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, you see, like, these shots, there can be luck involved, like with this shot here. I mean, you could get lucky and just be in the right spot at the right time. But what PhotoPills allows you to do is to maximize your luck. It allows you to be in those moments, because that's one thing that, in photo planning, I think we were talking about this earlier, is you can plan all you want. Like I was last week, I can plan all I want, but sometimes it just wasn't in the cards. That happens a lot for me in Florida, because we tend to have, whenever the moon is rising at twilight, we tend to have a lot of clouds. So there's not a lot of times where I can get the horizon with the moon rising. That's just part of the weather here. So I can plan it all I want. I think I planned four shoots this year in Florida where the moon was rising in front of certain places that I wanted to capture that in the foreground, and all four times the weather prevented it.
Yeah, that's what we say. We say in PhotoPills, plan and pray, and especially the moon. The moon is super tricky. And if you want to capture it right at the horizon, by the seas, the clouds, most of the time will be there. But when you get the shot, it's just, sometimes it's much better to be out there, living the scene and seeing the moon appear, for example, than actually taking the shot. It's what we call like the goosebumps moment, right?
Oh yeah, because I mean that's when you do get the shots. When you get the shots, like that's when you go, it was all worth it. All that effort to plan and all that stuff, and that's especially with my Milky Way, when I do Milky Way shoots, and I know that there's shots that I've planned that I haven't even been at that location, but because of PhotoPills, I knew kind of where I wanted to put my feet and where I needed I needed to get the GPS coordinate to, and where I needed to be, and I knew the frame was going to look like this. And I'm telling you, like, I had one shot that it was within like 2 degrees, maybe 1 degree of what I wanted it to be versus what it ended up being once I got there on site. And that was I think 3,000 miles from my current location. I was able to plan that a month in advance. Like that's just crazy. Yeah, and that's just something we didn't have before. So we need to take a break here in a second, but I wanted to, before we take a break, we got a bunch of people joining us from all over the world. And, I just want to, again, if you're in the chat, tell us, what you love about PhotoPills. The other thing when we come back that I want to get into is if you have any questions for us about PhotoPills, because one of the things is both of us, I mean, I know one, Rafael lives and breathes this stuff, obviously, but this is an app too that I love. I mean, I've taught a whole class on this on Kelby One. And that's become one of our more popular classes this year, because people are really getting into this, and really, because this is what can differentiate your shots from the masses, because you can start getting in and getting shots that you wouldn't think were possible. And again, you might get lucky, but PhotoPills will increase your luck. And we've got people joining us from all over the world. So jump in the chat. Let me know if you have any questions about PhotoPills. Let us know what you love about PhotoPills. And if you have any questions for Rafael about the app too, any features, any things that you want to see, or just questions about functionality, he's here. So let's ask him questions, kind of, ask or get some feedback. But we have people joining us all over the world. We got Jim joining us from Colorado. We got Alec from Aberdeen. Rafael, we got Ralph from Boston. We got Christian from Gothenburg. We got Jackie from Miami. We got Charmin from Canada. We've got Richard from the UK. Now we got Margin from the Netherlands. We got Marianne from the UK. We got Steve from Panama City that says PhotoPills rocks. So we got tons of people joining us in the chat. We're going to take a break now. When we come back, we're going to be talking more about PhotoPills. If you guys got any questions, just ask it in the chat, and we'll see you guys here back in a second.
Hey, photographers, are you waiting for Black Friday so that you can pick up some of that cool camera gear you've been wanting? Like maybe a super small tripod that fits in your bag or your pocket? Well, great news. Right now, both the PlatyPod Ultra and the PlatyPod Max are part of 3 awesome Black Friday specials. You can pick up the larger PlatyPod Max Plus 2 Lytra Torch 2.0s plus 2 pairs of these just released awesome goosenecks. That's a $339 value for just $279. Then, if you want a more pocketable platypod and you don't need to hold something big like a big camera body with a big telephoto lens, check out the PlatyPod Ultra combo with the Benro IN00 ball head. And did I mention it comes with the multi-accessory kit too? It's worth $138, but the special is just $109. And since more than 20,000 photographers already have a platypod, the folks at PlatyPod have you covered too, because the 3rd Black Friday special is 2 of those brilliant little Lytra 2.0 torches, a multi-accessory kit, and a pair of goosenecks, a $239 value for just $209. These Black Friday deals launched on November 13th, and they're only around as long as supplies last. They sold out last year, so don't wait. Follow the link below and get your PlatyPod Black Friday deal today.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by B&H Photo, the professional source since 1973.
All right, we're back and we're talking photo planning. This is an emerging topic. It's something we've been doing for a long time, but now we've got all this power in our pocket. We've got all these apps, and that's something we'll get into. There's other apps we can use, but PhotoPills is really becoming like I will say, my go-to app for photo planning. It really is. Like, it's becoming so inclusive of everything. Not only photo planning, but one of the things, Rafael, you guys are putting into the app is a lot of different other features like star trails and star point calculators, depth of field calculators, hyperfocal distance calculators. I mean, there's a wealth of knowledge in this app anymore. So, we've got some questions coming in, and I want to get to those.
Yes.
And then I want to get back to, asking you about maybe some of that stuff, like what's coming new. And I'll tease, one of the things that I think is coming new is starting to get into even taking it further with stars and maybe even tracking meteors and stuff like that.
That's it.
So we're gonna definitely get into that, which is really cool. But a couple questions coming in, and we got more coming in. We're gonna line them up. Michael's asking, are there any substantive differences between the iPhone and the iPad versions of the app? So is there a difference between the two?
Not really. We treat Android and iOS sorry, the same level. We give the same quality. They have both been developed separately in different languages, and we keep the same standards. And it's the PhotoPills standard, so we want to give the same standard to everybody.
Yeah, and that's my answer to that too is there is a slight difference between the iPhone and the iPad version in that the look of it, right? So the iPad version will give you a lot more data on the screen on one screen because it's a bigger device. That's what's going to happen. So what I find a lot of times is I'm using my iPad at home before I leave, but then I can sync up all those plans by sharing those plans with my iPhone. So I have all the data that I have from my iPad on my iPhone and stuff like that, and vice versa. So the iPad just gives you a more information on the screen, so you can do planning a little bit easier. You could still do everything that you could do on the iPad on the iPhone, which is really cool. But
the larger screen is always better, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bigger screen. It's got more real estate. And that's where, honestly, and I think we'll get into this a little later because I think there's going to be some questions about it. Really, at the end of the day, I've used other apps. And PhotoPills, you guys, the look of PhotoPills, the design, the functionality of it, it's very user-friendly. It's very modern design. I don't have to fight with it. There's other apps out there that they just don't have... they're just not laid out modernly. They don't have a good look and feel, and looks do matter. Looks matter, especially to photographers.
Thank you.
We want something that looks good, and PhotoPills, even the layout and the functionality of it looks good. It just feels good. It feels like it's a solid product. It never crashes on me. I've had other apps that crash on me and don't do stuff, and then take all my battery life. So I mean, that's I think. Kudos to you guys for doing that and taking the effort to actually have like a look and a brand standard, like that stuff.
Yeah, it's a teamwork, we have Joan, our designer, Herman, the developer, and Tony, the photographer. And the PhotoPills is all about mixing different people, and the design is the heart of it. We wanted to create something beautiful and something that could be really easily learned, although I know that there is a learning curve there. Above all, you want to go extreme, like planning a long distance shot with the moon. You need to study a bit and learn how to use the basics. But yeah, design is key.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that you pointed out too. Is that's what with this is you got to kind of ease into it and kind of get into it. And I say getting your feet wet. It's usually dealing with sunrises, sunsets. Maybe some simple stuff like that. That's where I did a whole course for Kelby One members because I felt like what I heard from people is I have the app. It seems like it'd be great, but I just don't know what to do with it because there are terms, and that's where I really wanted to break down for people in the class. There are terms and terminology that once you break it down for people, and it's like that with any other app that's out on the market, you just have to know. It's like Photoshop. Once you know how to use layers, once you know how to use curves, the world opens up to you. But until you know how to use layers and layer mask and curves, Photoshop is like this bizarre thing that, you're like, I don't know, but once you unlock that power, and that's what I found with people from our Kelby One class, is the overwhelming majority. I mean, it's been one of the number one, it's been the number two commented thing in our community this year, where people are going in there and going like, I had this app, I can't believe it. Now I feel like I can use it. It's just they unlocked the magic. And part of it sometimes is you just got to get into photo planning, and what is photo planning, and what are these terms, and how does this work? Because once you know things like azimuth and elevation and these things, like, it unlocks the world to you, and then this world of photo planning opens up. And it's really cool how you can see even on the screen there where the guy's finding, like, when will the sun be in that spot? It will find for the next 5 years in any location where the sun will be in that spot, or where the moon could possibly be in that spot. Or, like, that is just crazy that you could, for 5 years out, know this data, and you could plan a shoot. So you might have a shoot that gets, clouded out 1 year, but you still got that plan for the next year, and you still got that plan for the next year. That's really cool, to have that power in your pocket. So I think people unlocking that power is special. So next question coming in is from John E. And Johnny's asking, can you just give us like a 5-step process for planning a shoot at a different location than you are? I still can't get it right. So I think this might be hard for you, Rafael. I could probably take this over, because I think I have I have an example that I think I can show people of kind of, awesome. I'll show them my process, and this is a Milky Way process. So if you bring up here, let me go full screen on it here. So I'll bring up my screen, right? So this is where I start with the Milky Way, and this is not in PhotoPills yet, but this is a light pollution map. So I am down here in, actually you can see, because that's where my phone was, my little GPS coordinate, where I was down in Oldsmar, Florida. And I'm looking for, hey, I was in, I think September, I'm looking for, we're going to have some clear skies. Where can I go to shoot the Milky Way? So up here on the bend of Florida, there's a very dark spot. And I knew at this time of the year that over this way to the southwest, that's where the Milky Way is. So I'm dark spot where I'm at and shooting towards darkness. So that's my first step. I'm going to find out where I need to shoot. Then my next step is I go to Google and I start looking around on Google at areas. So I looked at that bend there in Florida and I started zoning in, and then I zoned in that there was this road. You can see it. It kind of, the road comes down this way and it kind of sits out here right off the coast with nothing around it. So then I actually went into Google, and I don't have a shot of it here, but it was a 360 view that somebody did, a spherical view on Google, which is really cool if you don't use Google for that, because I could see that was just a roundabout in the sand and then just nothing, right? And that's what I really wanted, because the shot I had in my head was that I wanted the Milky Way behind a foreground subject. So I went into PhotoPills, and here's PhotoPills right here. This was the night of that, where I knew I wanted the Milky Way straight up and down, which you can see it over here. It was going to be straight up and down. I was going to have a pretty good Milky Way, and it was going to be in this position right behind that subject on that roundabout. So I showed up with my subject. So that was my subject. So I had a Tesla Model 3, and we were in this roundabout of sand that we had found way, far away from it. I only found it because I started, plugging around on Google, pull up to this location. Then I went into your depth of field table, and I figured how far away I had to be from the car to get the car in focus and to get the background in focus. So I want the Milky Way in focus. I want the car in focus. And I knew I was going to be shooting at f2.8. I knew once I get to 9 feet away, I'm focused to infinity. Everything in my scene 9 feet away is going to be infinity. So I paced off and made sure the car was over. I went 12 feet because I was like, I want some room for error. So I went a little bit farther, but that's a great tool. So then I show up, and then I start up the augmented reality. And that's where I looked at it and went, okay, well, given the car's position, we kind of moved our cameras around. I want the Milky Way to kind of be coming right out of the top of it, right over the car at a certain time. So that's going to tell me, you got to think, I showed up, it was sunset. So I think it was only like 6:50, maybe 7 o'clock. So 2 hours later, this event isn't going to happen for. So the event I'm planning for is 2 hours later. So I'm setting up my shot, I'm doing my shot. And then what you walk out with is something like this, where I had the car and the Milky Way right over it. Then we started doing some light painting with it, and went to, we had the light painting of the car and stuff like that, where we were doing light painting with the car. We were flashing the headlights. We were doing all that with the Milky Way behind it. So you end up with a shot like this, So all that started from finding a place, knowing the time of year, knowing my weather was good. So that's kind of that's that progression that you're talking about. That's how I do it, at least, is I'm going through those steps where I'm finding a place on Google, finding a place that's dark, finding a place that will have that, then going into PhotoPills, planning that stuff. So Rafael, I mean, is that kind of the process you see a lot of people doing?
Yeah, that's the perfect process. Actually, it's the process we're following to plan our PhotoPills expeditions. We do one trip every year, and last summer we went to Faroe Islands, and the year before we went to Namibia. And we plan all the shots from home, from our little island in Minorca. We find the points of interest that we want to be shooting at on Google. We use Google Street View if it's available in that area, or Google Earth to understand if something is going to be blocking the subject. And then it's all about placing the red pin on the planner next to the subject and plan the shot. Find the date and time, the Milky Way, the sun, or the moon is going to be right where you want. When you know the date, you just need to take the plane and fly and get the shot.
Yep, and that's it. I mean, that's really, honestly, that's the process. Now, I think that's where, and we got to take a break, but when we come back, I kind of want to talk about the future stuff you guys have planned, because, I know for me that I even see, we probably have some comments in here, like, I'd love to see light pollution maps get in there. I would love to see some weather map integration kind of stuff.
I know.
And we all know this stuff. So if you got any suggestions for them, we want to hear in the comments. I got a bunch of questions we got to ask, but when we get back, we're going to rattle through all your questions here with Rafael from PhotoPills. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Victor Feyesh, and I love black and white. Through the process of black and white conversion, you can almost create a new image because you can transform one mood into another. Black and white is not just a desaturation of an image, it's more than that. You need to plan for that. You need to have control over every aspect of your image. Throughout this class, I'm going to give you tools that are going to help you take back the power. So come join me on my latest class on kelby1.com.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Canon.
All right, we're back and we're talking PhotoPills with Rafael, one of the co-creators of PhotoPills, and we're talking photo planning. Sue had a question of what do you use to find those dark spots? I use there's a couple apps on my phone. There's one called Light Pollution Maps, and one called Dark Skies that I use, as well as there's a website that you can use for dark skies. If you Google dark sky map or light pollution map, you will find it, and it's usually government data that's pulled in from either like a government agency or a worldwide agency that's studying this stuff to figure out the differences of, how our artificial light pollution is affecting our environment. So yeah, definitely available. Which, Rafael, that kind of leads me to, what new is coming for PhotoPills? So I know you've got a big one coming, I think, next week. So what's coming new?
Yeah, it's coming. We're trying to make planning meteor showers much easier. We have this tutorial on our website with the best meteor showers of the year. But every time we announce meteor shower, we get questions about the local information of the meteor shower. For example, when is the peak date and peak time for my location? Is it a good meteor shower? Is it going to be powerful? How many meteors per hour can I expect? Or for example, how can I locate the radiant point of the meteor shower in the sky easily?
Well, that's the big one right there, is the radiant point and knowing where to point. And that's where I would love to have that. I mean, we have to sometimes, figure that out but it'd be great to have that in PhotoPills. So I'm glad to see you guys are doing that, because like we have one coming tomorrow. Well, it'll here on the East Coast, it'll be tomorrow night from about 11 to midnight. The unicorn, unicorn meteor shower, right? It's and I think it's going to cast, like, it could possibly, that's the one thing with meteor showers, you never know, possibly cast up to 500 meteors in that 1 hour. So you could get 500 shooting stars in that 1 hour. It's possible. So
it's been predicted to be amazing. It seems that we're going to have the same conditions that gave us 400 meteor per hour in 1995.
Yep.
So it might happen, it might not. But if you're not out there waiting for it, you're not going to get the shot.
Well, and that's the key there is and that's what I love about that, is having that information in the app so I can know. And that's the same thing. Like one thing that you guys added was like eventually you got eclipse data in there years ago.
Yes.
And now there's eclipse data in there. These are events that rarely happen. It's nice to know you can plan those things and you can plan it out, because a lot of times those are the things you really want to travel for because they are unique. Another question from Dalton is, could you ask Rafael if there's plans on a desktop or web version of PhotoPills?
Well, that's in we have plans for that, and we're working on it. So
currently working on it.
Currently working on it, and all this long to-do list that you just pointed out, right?
Yep.
We have such a long list, and we're a super small team, but we've been growing, hiring people to help us out, and we're listening to you guys, and we're gonna create something that you're gonna love. I'm sure.
So Meteors is coming out now. What's right behind that? What's the next thing we should be looking for from PhotoPills?
Well, right behind that, we're making in December. We're gonna make a focus group with the team and really plan the next 2 or 3 years. So probably we're gonna be stopping for a while, developing for the app. We might develop Andy filter calculator, for example, something that can be easily developed. But we're creating this big thing that's coming, hopefully at the end of next year or in 2022, and that will take us a lot of time. In the meanwhile, we'll be updating the app. But first, meteor showers, and then I think it's gonna be the Andy filter calculator. And probably we'll try to add Milky Way pill with the Milky Way calendar.
Well, it'd be awesome if you get that light pollution map inside your app. I'm telling you, it would be nice to eliminate that. Another question from Tom was, will PhotoPills show passes of the ISS? And that's another one that I would love too. That's a big one, is ISS or satellite passes, stuff like that.
Yes, it's in the to-do list.
Yep.
Tides, ISS, aurora forecast, weather, light pollution map. It's gonna happen in the future. We're working on it.
Yes, because that's a big one. ISS passes would be really cool. If you don't, International Space Station, when it passes, you at certain times, especially, you can get it very pronounced, mattering on too if it's near the twilight where it's still getting a lot of the sun too. So you can get this, but then anytime when the ISS passes, you can get a streak of it across your screen, and then sometimes you can even get transits. So you can get the ISS passing in front of the sun or the ISS passing in front of the moon, which is really cool. Because I mean, this space station is huge up there. I mean, it's football fields, and but then in the shot, it's just this little thing going across. It's really cool. So there's another question here. I'm gonna have to take this one because I know you're not gonna want to take it. But the question is, I have TPE on my phone, and that costs $10 as well. How does PhotoPills compare to that? And I can say, from my point, I actually own both as well, and I did own both. I have subsequently don't use TPE anymore. I only use PhotoPills. PhotoPills has everything and more than I need. And then you guys are constantly developing stuff into the app, unless there's something you want to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, TPE is a great app.
Yeah.
We're trying to create more than an app. Our project is not about the app. The app is at the heart of the community. But what we want to do is actually help people go from ideas to real photos. And for that to happen, you need tools to inspire you, to help you plan the shots, to also work out all the numbers like depth of field, field of view when you're in the field shooting. And so you can actually go and capture them. And we also create these guides that we write to help you learn photography, to nail the shots too. So our purpose is not to help you guys plan the shots, it's to help you get the shots. And we want to give you the whole picture, from the idea to the shooting.
All right, so John's asking, I have it. So he has the app, but I rarely use it. So the first thing I say is, John, you got to start using it. But then he follows up with, my question is, what would you say to me to get me to use it more often? And I would say to you, it is going to tell you when the first thing you should be using it for is the optimal times to be shooting. Especially if you're a landscape photographer, you're a portrait photographer, if you're anything like where you're using the sun as a light source, you need to be using it because it can help you with your plans. I mean, I've used it on shoots with Scott. He's been on a natural light shoot and wondering, we wanted to place the moon or the sun behind a tent that we were setting up 3 hours before. And I can tell you the story of it is the whole team was convinced that, given where the sun is, if we set it up here, it'll be fine. And I'm going in the background going, guys, I got PhotoPills up. It's going to be over here. And it was like, they were going to plan it over here. And I'm like, no, it's going to be over here. And everybody's like, no. And I'm like, I'm telling you, and this was years ago, this app will be right. And it'll be right there. And you know what? It was right there. So that's the thing is, using it for the sun, using it for the moon, the Milky Way, any of those things. But not only that, you guys have a laundry list of other things in there.
Yeah. What I usually tell people when they start PhotoPills is that you need to forget about PhotoPills. It's all about what you want. You need to set a goal. It can be a simple goal. What do you want? You want to go shoot the sunset this weekend? Then when you have a goal, you will start having questions like, okay, I want to shoot the sunset this weekend on Saturday. So when is sunset? At what time the sun is setting? And where the sun will be setting? So when you have these two questions, you want to go shoot sunset, you can use PhotoPills and find the best shooting spot based on where the sun will be setting and the time of the sunset. So it's all about you. You don't need to go to PhotoPills and try to learn everything. You're gonna get lost, trying to learn everything on Photoshop. You need to have a clear goal with a clear question to that needs an answer, and then just learn what you need to use on PhotoPills to get the answer, and that's as simple as that.
And then my big one for that is light. That's what it comes down to is, the sun and light. That's the big one. And then same thing with stars. Stars are points of light, knowing about light, knowing where that light's coming from, knowing where the moonlight's coming from, if you're doing moonscapes or you're putting the moon in your shot. So Cheeky Nando has a question, and he's actually near you. He's over in Portugal. Nando's asking, question for Rafael. Can you order one of those cool PhotoPills t-shirts that you have?
Of course, you can go to, even within the app, you have the t-shirts link. Yeah. Or you go to our website, t-shirts, you can go to our t-shirt shop, and we have a lot of merchandising over there. So
very cool. One more question before we go to break. Jock's Photos asking for catching lightning and meteors. Do you recommend long 30-second exposures or short 3-second continuous mode and stacking? So I guess meteors and lightning. Well, lightning would be totally different. Like lightning is short. Meteors, what would you recommend? A longer? Do people usually do longer exposure or shorter exposure?
But what we use, meteor shower is amazing because in one night you can get Milky Way shots, you can get the Star Trail shots, and you can get meteors. So what we do is we shoot like a time lapse. We shoot we plan everything for shooting the Milky Way, like 20 seconds exposures, and we keep shooting all night. And at the end of the night, you can build a time lapse, you can build everything you need.
And that's the thing. I don't have anything to add because that's exactly what I would do too in that scenario. Is I would do the same thing as what Rafael's saying. You would just set up your composition, and just start firing because you're going to have those meteors come in, and then you can do like you're talking about. You could do some stacking and then stack in. I mean, it's going to take a little while in Photoshop to kind of get all of them in there, but it'll be cool. I mean, the results will be really cool. It'll be like the meteors are kind of shooting at your camera while the stars are in there. So it's a really cool shot. And then the follow-up to that is, if I have PhotoPills, will there be will an upgrade come to me automatically, or do I need to buy it again? So if you own PhotoPills, do I upgrade automatically if the new version comes out, or do I need to buy it again?
Yeah, it's PhotoPills is a one-time payment app, and the next update, the Meteor Shower update we've been working on it for 6 months or 7 months, I think. It's gonna be free.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it. When I bought it, it was even, there was way less features and way less stuff. And then over the time, it's kind of like I wake up, I look in the app, and I'm like, wow, I got like another pill. Like, what was that pill? I didn't, and then I'll go in there and be like, oh, I got that pill now, or I got this pill, meaning like a feature in the app.
Yeah.
So
the reason we call it PhotoPills is that one, because it's all about giving you the pills that are painkillers, the solutions.
Yeah, it's like a little treating the problems.
Yeah, and it's an endless. The to-do list is so long, and honestly, everybody can use PhotoPills, even iPhone photographers. Because you need to understand light, you need to understand when is the golden hour, where the sun is going to be setting. Portrait photographers, wedding photographers, architecture photographers, they use it, and they have a lot of different needs. And in the long term, we want to be like completing all these needs slowly.
Cool. Well, we need to take a break. We got so many questions that when we come back, we'll just try to hit up so many questions. I'll try not to go off on any tangents. We'll give away some prizes at the end, but we're going to spend time just answering your questions because we got so many coming in. So we'll be right back with PhotoPills.
Hi, I'm Larry Becker, and I've been a camera reviewer for years. I've also been a camera trainer, and I have more than a dozen classes over at Kelby One. And I couldn't be more excited about my latest class because it's about the brand new camera I just bought, the Canon 90D. This is an amazing camera, and it's packed with all kinds of power user features, like 32 megapixel images and burst capture rate of an amazing 10 frames per second. And over on the video side, you can capture uncropped 4K video. You can even shoot full HD video at an amazing 120 frames per second. My new Kelby One class is for pros and beginners alike. It's all about helping people who have never shot anything but a smartphone or high-end pros. And I get everybody up to speed fast. Trust me, this is not a camera class like what you've seen online, where you feel like somebody's reading a manual to you. This is a class that I would teach when I just show my friends what to do with their new 90D. It's time for better pictures and video. It's time to check out my latest class exclusively on kelby1.com.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by PlatyPod, the world's most compact tripod base.
Make sure you don't miss any episodes of The Grid by subscribing to Apple's podcast app or iTunes. It's free, and we even have a special audio-only version too. So sign up today.
All right, we're back, and we're talking about photo planning and PhotoPills, and we got a bunch of questions we want to hit up here. So this last segment, we're just going to go through questions here with Rafael. So Gladys is asking, question, will PhotoPills tell me when the moon will look super big coming over the mountains here in the West? And she's saying not a super moon, but when it looks super giant kind of coming over the horizon. And she says she always misses it. So will PhotoPills help you plan getting a moon super big over the mountains and the horizon?
Yes, I mean, with PhotoPills you can plan any long distance shot with the moon. You know that the trick when you're planning the moon is the shooting distance. The further away you are from your subject, the larger the moon appears to be compared to your subject. So it's like this optical effect that allows you to choose the moon size you need compared to your subject based on the shooting distance.
And yeah, and you have that. You guys have that calculation in the app as well. And this is kind of this is a good segue because that's what you're talking about too, is a telephoto. As you use a telephoto lens too, as you get farther away from your foreground subject, telephoto in with the moon, you're going to bring the moon and the foreground subject kind of bigger in the frame by the compression of the lens. So part of it is using a telephoto lens and getting farther away from those mountains, because the closer you are to those mountains and shooting a wide frame, the smaller that moon's going to be. So part of it is getting back, zooming in, getting that moon in that segment. And then her next question was, how do you get, can you get the moon and the, can you get the moon and the mountains properly exposed all in the same frame without the moon blowing out? Yes. And that's another one. Yeah. I mean, so how would you do that?
Yeah, it's all about the natural light that you have in the scene. If you plan to shoot the full moon, the day of the full moon or the day before, usually you have the moon rising or setting when the sun is setting or rising. So you have perfect light for the moon. And PhotoPills tells you, if you plan the shot of the moon, the last thing you need to do is to check the elevation of the sun and understand the light that you'll have at that moment. So if you're shooting, for example, the moon in golden hour, no problem. You can get in one shot, correctly expose the foreground and the moon.
Yes, and that's the key there, is if you're going to shoot the moon in one frame with the foreground element, you need to have the same exposure on the foreground element as the moon, so those things look the same if you want it all in one frame. Now, the other thing, though, is, because that's what people think is, oh, it's got to be dark when I'm shooting the moon. When we're talking about these scenarios, it's going to be golden hour. It's going to be twilight. It's going to be in those times where and that's kind of the magic with shooting the moon, is actually shooting the moon during those times. You really don't want to shoot the moon when it's night unless you want to get a telephoto shot of the moon. Or maybe doing at least in one frame, or not doing a long exposure. if you're just going to do a 1-frame short exposure, that's where you really want to shoot it at twilight or in something like your golden hours and stuff like that.
Yes. When you're shooting the moon and you don't have artificial light, I mean, of course you can shoot the moon and the Empire State Building every day at night, right? Because you have the lights of the building and then you have the moon and you can get both correctly exposed. But in the case of that we're talking about shooting out there in the mountains on a point of interest that doesn't have natural artificial light, you need to shoot the moon during golden hour, blue hour. That's the best moment.
Good, awesome. So that's it. So yes, it can be done. We just got to figure out the times when those exposures are proper.
Yes.
So Marjan is asking, how can PhotoPills be used by a nature or wildlife photographer?
Well, what time is sunset today?
I mean, I think what it is really at the end of the day with that, how I'd answer that question, Marjan, is it's really good to know where your light is going to be cast on your subject. And that's the key with that is, or also when am I going to not get the harsh light on my subject? When am I going to get that kind of softer wrapping light? And then understanding too, when you're shooting wildlife, given your position, you might go, well, if I'm going to, like, for example, shooting a wildlife shoot where you're trying to kind of camp out in one place, that you might want to put yourself in a place where, given the time of day it's going to be, the light will cast onto my subject the way I want. So that's really the key there, is knowing when that sun, how it's going to cast, given your location. That's a big one. Same thing goes for nature, knowing when how the beams are going to come into the forest, or how the beams of light, or how the light is going to cast onto your subject.
Yeah. In that case, light direction is the thing to check, and also golden hour and blue hour times. Depending on you want a softer light for the shot.
Cool. And so Peter's asking, often wonder what the spheres where in virtual reality, what the spheres are when you're in virtual reality, but this just represents star tracking. And what drove, so that's what you see this.
If you use the night AR view, you can see the Milky Way, and you see like a blue kind of blue circumferences that are showing you exactly the star trails pattern you'll get depending on where you're shooting, the direction you're aiming your camera. And on these circumferences, you see these white dots moving. And these white dots moving represent stars, and it's all about understanding the rotation of the stars, the sense of rotation of the stars, and that's it.
Yeah, and that answered the question there, was what drove the convergence between astronomy and photo planning and the need to create this. And really at the end of the day, what that is we're able to, not only with the Milky Way, lining up the Milky Way, but if we're wanting to do star trails or we're wanting to do that, seeing how those rotations are going to affect in our frame, and seeing how the rotation of the Earth is going to affect our frame. These are very important things. I mean, you can do that with, just locking in on Polaris and kind of estimating it, but it's really cool when you can see it exactly how it's going to go, because our mind never, we're never exact. Like I was saying, even with the sunset, 5 people, it was going to be over here, but I'm telling you guys, it's going to be way over here, so it's just funny. So Tom's saying, I haven't tried PhotoPills, but I will start doing it soon.
Awesome.
Gord is saying, I haven't found anything wrong with it so far. The best I can do with it is the same thing with my photography. So it's just practice. Exactly. I mean, I think the big thing with anything like this is practicing it. So getting into planning.
Getting to planning. Planning is not that popular. I think we were talking about this the other day, but nobody's teaching planning. Nobody's teaching planning on YouTube. You don't see that many video tutorials, online courses on planning. You guys have done one. Congratulations. It's an amazing course.
Well, and that's what I definitely agree. And that brings a good point, is we've been talking about, we're just starting to get into planning. Like I did one course that was just kind of the basics of it, but we've talked about, we need to do a course for Kelby one that even goes deeper, because we've had so many people ask, okay, this is great, I'm starting in it, but now what about this? Like just the questions we were just answering. And we want to go deeper and getting into a more advanced class, talking about all these intricacies, because that's at the end of the day, this app is like Photoshop to me, where you start, and it's like you talked about, Rafael, when you start realizing what you can do, then another door opens and you say, oh, I wonder if I could do this. And then another part of the app you'll have to pull in and start doing, like you were talking about. Like you guys have even a calculator for, like we were talking about, if you have the moon and you have a subject and how tall that subject is and you want to fill the moon, like you have calculators for that, right, in the app?
Yes. On the planner, you can see the size of the moon on the map, and also we give you the size in the diameter of the moon, so you can compare with your subject, so you can actually plan a shot with the moon anywhere you want, relative with your subject. So it's all about giving you all the tools that you can use them to fulfill your desires as a photographer. It's all about fulfilling your needs, and the more you learn how to use these tools, the more creativity unfolds, and the more opportunities happen. We get emails of people telling us that, I was bored shooting, and now thanks to PhotoPills, I discovered places from a totally different perspective, and getting shots in the places that have been shot 1,000 times. You can come up with an idea that nobody has shot, and that's a cool part of it.
Yeah, and like that's what we got some comments here that I gotta read. Like Cheeky Nando says, I love it. It has everything in a single app. And Cheeky was out with us when we were doing the shooting for the one of our Milky Way classes, and it was funny because we're using the app so much, and people kind of start wondering, what are you doing holding your phone up and kind of moving it around? And Jason, who is our director on the shoot, I remember saying, like, he must have sold at least 12 downloads of PhotoPills within those couple of days just by showing people, and they'd see it and they would go, oh, I gotta have that. They were just people walking by, just, we were beyond location. They're just walking by, and then he'd go into all of it, what it does, and they would be like, oh, I gotta get it. And then they download it right there in front of us, and they'd be holding up their phones too, thinking that was just so cool. So yeah,
that's
having
amazing.
everything in one app, having everything in one place. Jock's Photo saying PhotoPills is addictive. I love the side effects. That's a good one.
More is coming.
That's good. Yeah, so more side effects are coming, Jock's Photo.
Yeah.
And Dalton saying PhotoPills wraps it all into one nice, convenient package. So yeah, so a lot of great things. We got more questions. This is going to have to be our last one because we're running out of time. But Jackie asked, I heard Erik mention the PhotoPills app for iOS. Is there an app for Android as well? We did touch on that in the beginning of the show. There's an app for Android and iOS. It mirrors functionality, right, Rafael?
Yes.
I mean, it's the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
So
same
anything you
price,
can do on one, you can do on the other.
Yes, 100%. And next week when we launch our update, we launch on both platforms the same day. So
Sweet.
we don't want to launch first iOS and then wait 1 month and launch Android. We launch both on both platforms the same day, so everything feels that we're part of the same family.
Well, awesome. Well, guys, if you want to learn more about PhotoPills, like I said, you go check out photopills.com. If you're a Kelby One member or want to become a Kelby One member, we have a whole course on that, and I use it all throughout my Milky Way courses as well. I mean, it's an indispensable tool if you're doing stuff with planning. So, Rafael, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So if they want to check more about you guys, photopills.com, Instagram, you guys are PhotoPills.
We're PhotoPills everywhere. On YouTube, PhotoPills, Instagram and Facebook, PhotoPills, and photopills.com, that's our website. So
awesome.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. And so before we go, though, we do need to give away prizes because I just got reminded of that. So we have the landscape photography book. Peter Deathridge is going to win that landscape photography book. And then the PlatyPod, which this is another, you want to talk about like the other thing that I use as much as PhotoPills is probably a PlatyPod. And that's going to Mehdi McConnell. you've won the PlatyPod Max. So just contact Christina in the chat. She'll get you set up with that. No matter where you are, we'll ship it to you because we're loose with money. We love shipping it around the world. So, well, Rafael, again, thanks for joining us. We would, I know we've been talking about doing even a members only webcast about this for Kelby One members where we could dive even some deeper. Yes. So maybe look for that in the next coming months. And then, like I said, look for maybe something where we dive deeper into the advanced, like really advanced features in PhotoPills, because it does feel like Photoshop. Like you can go very deep with this, and you guys keep on just adding more and more and more to help us. But there's going to be new stuff coming soon, like meteors and
meteors next week. And if somebody is thinking about getting PhotoPills, just wait until Black Friday. We're doing 50% off. So if you're here listening to us at the moment, you know that wait until next week so you can get 50% if you want.
There you go. There you go. And see, that is honesty right there, guys. That is honesty. So I mean, that's what I love about what you guys are doing. I mean, I've seen what other companies do, and I love what you guys are doing. You're trying to make a tool, and it lines up with that's why we do Kelby One. We want to help photographers, and that's at the end of the day, that's what really you're in the business. We've talked about this a lot, and we've had conversations outside of the show, and I love that about you guys. Is you guys really care about the photographers and helping photographers and giving them the tools to make their lives better, and that's really what we're all about too at Kelby One. We want to help people make better images, and that's what you guys want to do, and that's really so great on you to tell people, hey, if you haven't bought PhotoPills yet, wait for the deal. And I tell you what, I'll say the same thing for Kelby One. Kelby One, we're going to have a sale next week starting on Wednesday. So if you're going to think about Kelby One, buy it on Wednesday because you're going to get the best deal of the year on Kelby One then. So there you go.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you guys for and thanks, Rafael, for joining us. We'll see you guys next week here on the grid. Or actually next week, I think we'll have a replay because it is the holidays. So next week will be the holidays here in the U.S. So we will be replaying a favorite episode of the grid. So we'll see you guys on Cyber Monday for our Screaming Deals.